Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Let me see here. I'm just going to copy this link over and send this off. But, thank you for your patience. I'm trying to get a little faster at this. And then until I have somebody, I'm looking to hire a couple interns to help me with all the work that I have ahead of me. I will hopefully this will be one of the first things they'll be making sure I get done. Market close, close 3/2, 2021. Okay, so I have a few people joining. Thank you. And today has been, started out kind of flattish, and then we ended up going down. There was some news that came out today that the economy might grow as fast as 10% in the first quarter. Now, that is an incredibly fast, stellar pace, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to need more stimulus if the economy is truly growing that fast. Because if we already have added over 25% to the money supply last year alone to deal with this drawdown, 25% increase in the money supply. And then asset prices have clearly skyrocketed last year, as everybody can just see from where the indexes are. And then to add another 2 trillion after we took on 3.3 trillion last year. So every American took on a little over $20,000 in new debt last year, every working American. And then today, they want to do another almost 13,000 per worker. So between the 2 years, almost $33,000 in new debt for every single person in this country that works. And that's after 10 million people lost their job. So something does not make sense that they're trying to push all this money into the system unless they're trying to say that, oh, we took on all of this debt and we needed to take it on, but now that we can't pay it back, how about we do something like give you guaranteed income and we'll just wipe out the debt? And it just doesn't feel right that we're being played this way, and it's extremely disturbing and aggravating that it's happening, and there's nobody really speaking up about it or against it. And so it definitely makes me super nervous that this is happening. I don't like the end game based on what's taking place with the debt and with commodity prices. With regards to lumber prices are up over 100%. And then you have fuel prices up. You have interest rates spiking. And people are saying, well, the interest rates are going up because the economy is growing. Yeah, but if you grow the economy because it's all debt financed, that's not true growth. You're being silly if you believe that that's growth. It looks like growth on math, but it's not real growth. It's not tangible growth. And simultaneously, all this growth is supposedly taking place with 10 million people out of work. So that's a big problem. And I guess the other reason for this problem is I guess today Merck is going to possibly be helping Johnson & Johnson produce a vaccine that hopefully, this is not my hope. I will not take that vaccine on a personal level. I think there's too much that will not be known about that vaccine, and I will not take that, and I will not be giving that vaccine to any of my children either. I don't know if that vaccine could possibly have long-term health effects. It could possibly make it difficult for them to have children in the future. There's a lot that can go wrong, and I've never taken a flu shot in my life. And I think that this vaccine is nothing more than a possibly more sloppy version of a flu shot that we don't know what the repercussions are. So I don't care what Merck and J&J are doing together. I'm not willing to take that shot. And so the reason why I bring it up anyways is this is going to be available by the end of May. And supposedly, this should help open up the economy for people that are afraid and feel they need a vaccine to go out with this virus. And if it was true, then why is the government need to print another $2 trillion of debt, especially when the GDP number is supposedly showing 10% growth? It's almost as though they're trying to get the debt out the door, which only 32% was going to flow to the American worker and their families, and the rest was going to flow, we don't really know. So over $1.2 trillion is just going to go to other sources, so to speak. And, the market definitely reacted today as though this vaccine deal with Merck and J&J is credible, because Zoom, which I talked about this morning, was up about 6-7% from the previous day based on earnings. But then it ended up, it was up pre-market. So I didn't follow it. I just knew that it was strongly up after its earnings. And then it ended up down 9% on the day. So that company moves in tandem with this virus. And so the fact that it's sold off, the market or people that own it believe that this is a very viable and strong possibility. It could have been other reasons. I'm just telling you my interpretation. I'm not suggesting anybody buy or sell any of these stocks. I'm not suggesting anybody buy or sell anything in the market. That's not what this is about. I'm just giving a quick recap and just telling you what's going on. So there's the Zoom GDP numbers, and then talking about Merck and J&J. And I said it once, I'll say it again. If you remember what your portfolios were like a year ago and you felt like you had too much risk on, then we are still near all-time highs. You should most definitely look into or contact someone who can help you that's a professional to make sure that your risk tolerance that you have in your mind and what you really think it is, that you adjust your portfolio to match it if it's out of line. If it's in line and it's right where you want it to be, just ignore this message. But now is a great time to double check if you happen to be long a lot of assets, a lot of stocks, even bonds. Bonds have had an incredible rally too. Don't wait. Now is a great time to go look at all that stuff, especially with the market still being in much higher levels. Small cap sold off 2% today. The other indexes about a little over maybe 0.5%, which isn't too bad after yesterday's rally. So please take that into account. Obviously, there's been some talk, I think, by the New York AG about looking into some of the cryptos, and I think I'm not sure if it was Bitcoin in particular, but I don't have an opinion to buy or sell Bitcoin either. I think it's an amazing technology, but like I said in previous videos, Dell Computer had an amazing technology to make a computer in like under 6 hours when other suppliers took a week. And Dell, if anybody recalled, in the 80s, I think it was in the 80s and then the 90s, it grew 50 to 100% a year after year after year with that amazing process. And some of it, they actually patented their process for how to produce computers in real time. And, obviously their technology got bid away. An interesting backstory. This Michael Dell, he doesn't remember the story this way anymore, but I remember being in the business 25 years ago. And Michael Dell was asked at a public forum about Apple Computer. So Dell was worth, I think, about $60 to $80 billion at the time before it went private. So Dell Computer was worth, it was like toward the top of the heap. Maybe it was in the mid to late 90s, maybe late 90s. And this was before Steve Jobs got back to Apple, or maybe it was just right before Steve Jobs came back after selling Next to Apple, or it was right around that vicinity. And somebody said, what should Apple do with their money? The company is worth, just about the cash on the books. It was not worth anything. The market didn't really value Apple. It had dropped, I think it was like $2 or $3 billion. And it was losing money and was just selling just over the value of the cash. So imagine that, if you can buy Apple for the value of the cash. And Michael Dell said they should just close it down and give all the cash back to the shareholders. The reason why I'm laughing, because Apple went on to be worth over $2 trillion from 2 billion. So it went up 1,000-fold. And then Dell went from being worth 80 billion. I think it dropped to 15 or 20 billion. It dropped 70%. And then he ended up taking it private. He's super wealthy. So I'm not like laughing about how wealthy he is. I'm laughing about how sometimes when you're on top, don't let hubris get the best of you. What he should have done is said, man, maybe Dell should own Apple and I should just let them do their thing. And Michael Dell would be worth $1 trillion right now. So, but that's a, I'm going to tell you one other funny story because there wasn't a lot to report today. So there's this couple that founded Cisco Systems, the networking company, if you guys recall. So Cisco during the 90s was a beast. I mean, this married couple founded this company. They're both technologists. They started growing Cisco through acquisitions, and they were just like ramping up. And Cisco could do no wrong. They were buying everybody with their stock because being able to issue stock is the closest thing to counterfeiting in this world. Because you can print money through the issuance of stock if people have faith in your company. So anyways, Cisco was doing this, buying up all these companies, growing lightning fast. And I guess the wife was on the board, and she had a pretty tough personality, I guess, as they would say. And so they fired her, for I guess maybe berating other board members or something. And keep in mind, I think between the two of them, the husband and wife, they own like over 20% of Cisco. So think about like Elon Musk getting fired from Tesla. And so, because Elon Musk, I think, owns 20 to 25% or so of Tesla. She was fired. The husband was still on the board. So the husband decided to quit and protest. Very loving husband. He quit. So he quit Cisco, and they were done. They were like, adios, Cisco. We're out of here. Let's see how you guys do without us. And they were the founders, right? So it turns out that as they did this, they sold their stock. Cisco went on to just continue to rocket the rest of the decade. They left over $100 billion on the table. I was curious. I couldn't help myself. I had to look to see if they were still married, right? They were not married after a few years. They're like, I think it was just too much stress that they had a company they founded that they couldn't just sit back and let other people that were more competent run it. And they let their ego get in the way. And it cost them over $100 billion because all they had to do is just sit there and let other people, other professional management run it. So the point of both of these stories with regards to Cisco as well as Dell is they became successful, not because of one, abrasive or, intelligent person that started it. It's because of the collective wisdom of the right culture and people that were put into place to take the company to the next level. Apple had an incredible level of talent that even when they were down and out, they had people that believed in what they were doing, and they were skilled and they were talented, and they just wanted to create great products, and they just needed the right mix. And after Steve Jobs, who was extremely arrogant when Apple was founded, and he even talks about it in interviews, they threw him out. He brought on Scully. Scully came from Pepsi to run Apple. They came up with this little device called the Newton. If anybody remembers it, it was a precursor to the iPhone, and it flopped. And anyways, Steve Jobs, I'm not exactly sure what went down that he got fired by the board. He got pissed and left. I don't know if he sold his stock. I can't recall, but I do know that he went and built Next computer. Next ended up being, I think, the precursor for what they ended up using to resurrect Apple. He came back in. He learned his lesson, and the rest is history. Before he died in 2011, I think Apple was a beast, and it still is to this day. And I think it's the most valuable company in the world as of right now. Maybe it might go back and forth with the Saudi Arabia oil company. I haven't looked at that quote in a while. But anyways, think about that when you're doing things. Think about what you know, what you don't know, and how you should behave and how you should treat people, because how you treat people can literally make the difference between you living an exceptional life and you living an okay life. And in some cases, it can mean the difference between you living with a lot of regrets because you screwed up. I'll tell you one last one, and I'm going to go. There's a company called King. They do software. I'm sure you might have seen it. There's this game called Candy Crush. This thing, Candy Crush, was developed, and it's addictive like cigarettes. I mean, that's the way they designed it. So you constantly play, you have nervous energy. It's like a digital cigarette is what Candy Crush is. So it turns out that one of the founders of that company had a little bit of a falling out too with his board, and he ended up selling the company, his shares in the company, I think for like $2 million. And within 2-3 years, the company went public, and Candy Crush was just, it took off. They were just making so much money. I think they were like making like $10-20 million a week in profit. And maybe it was 10 million a week, $500-600 million in profits before they got bought out. I think Interactive, no, I don't know if it was EA or one of these software companies that makes video games bought them out. That within 2 years, that 2 million was, like $1 billion, $2 billion. Same thing. So when you're going through this world and you look at, some people that are jerks and you say, wow, they still get ahead even though they're jerks. Remember these stories of the jerks that they were ahead and they still did well for themselves, but they left 99% of what they could have made on the table for being jerks. And that's an important lesson you can share with your kids. And if you're a business owner, you should think about it for your own business when you're dealing with your employees or customers or vendors, that, it truly does pay to be virtuous in this world and do the right thing and treat people with respect. And it could make a world of difference. And I think it'll not only make a difference in your pocketbook, it will probably make you a happier person overall as well. So with that, I will see you guys in the morning with this little market AM wrap in the morning and the evening wrap with Preactive Investments. Thanks for chiming in. I appreciate it.